Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kate Borsato. I'm a mental health therapist for moms and moms-to-be. So happy to have you here. This channel is all about supporting pregnant women and new moms adjust to motherhood. That means finding ease, finding their happiness and joy, and also just getting through all of the hard stuff because it is hard. And I'm here to give you that honest support and useful resources and tools that you really need. So if you're new here, I'd love for you to say hi in the comments below. Let me know where you're from and what you're needing most help with. I'm really happy to create resources for you based on what you need. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you get updates and videos as soon as I post them. So today we're talking about intrusive or scary thoughts. All right, so if you're having any unusual or kind of disturbing thoughts, this is what I'm talking about in this video. So stay tuned, let's jump in. Okay, so what are intrusive thoughts? You may or may not have heard of that term before, but essentially intrusive thoughts are unwanted thoughts or images, right? So sometimes they're like pictures or scenes that just pop into your mind. So I want to start first of all by saying that these are usually not images that you want to have. Okay, so usually they're quite disturbing, maybe even alarming, upsetting. They're not things you want to think about. They're not things you chose to think about. They just flash into your mind. That's why we call them intrusive. Now, as a mom or a pregnant woman, you might not have actually heard about this before, but I want you to know that almost every mother experiences these. So there are some research studies that have found that 95 up to 100% in some studies of women, of mothers say, yeah, I've had intrusive thoughts. So it's so common. Okay, so if you are having strange or unusual, upsetting thoughts, just know that first of all, you are not alone. You are not crazy, you're not losing it, you're not a bad mom, right? These are things that just happen. Okay, so in this video, I'm gonna be talking about, well, first of all, what kinds of thoughts come up a lot with women, with moms, why they happen, what they mean, and then what you can do about them. Because I know even if it's normal, it's still upsetting, it's still disturbing, okay? So let me just tell you a few of the main categories that these intrusive or unwanted thoughts can come up. Okay, so often they have to do with harm coming to your baby, right? This is one of the most common areas. So this could be sickness related. So you might be feeling or noticing thoughts or images, scenes around your baby getting sick, or your child, or even your child in utero, right? So sickness, contamination, those types of fears might be coming up. You also might have fears around them getting hurt, right? So falling or maybe having car accidents, maybe having some sort of accident with a utensil in the kitchen, things like that. And I know it might sound shocking, it might sound strange to hear me say this, but it's important to talk about because you might be having these thoughts, okay? Sometimes we also have images or thoughts about other kinds of harm like sexual abuse or molestation, right? So again, it might sound strange, but it's common, these images that just pop into your mind that are very upsetting and very disturbing, okay? The key here is that these are not things that you want to have happen. So that's how we know that it's not actually a risk. So some moms worry, the fact that I'm having these thoughts, does that mean that I'm unsafe or that something, that I might do something bad? Well, the thoughts themselves are not that powerful. So I just want you to ask yourself, these images that I'm having, these thoughts that I'm having, are these in alignment with what I want? Do I want these things to happen? Would I be okay if they happened? Usually it's a hard no, right? And that's why they're so disturbing. You would never want these things to happen. And if that's the case, that tells me, that tells you that it's just an intrusive thought. If on the other hand, you feel like, yeah, I'd be okay if those things happen, then that is a medical emergency and you must reach out to a therapist, a doctor, call 911. It's unusual that you would want these things to happen. It's not normal, but it indicates that you need support, right? That you need help. But for the most part, moms find that no, they would never want these things to happen. And that's how you know that it's just a thinking error. You could even think it's this automatic thinking mistake that's happening that doesn't mean anything about you as a mom, okay? So take that in. First and foremost, the fact that you're having these thoughts is normal. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom, and it doesn't mean that you're unsafe, okay? So does it mean you have anxiety? So sometimes this question gets asked. I'm having intrusive thoughts. Do I have anxiety? Maybe. So usually with clients or with women who end up with a diagnosis of anxiety, often intrusive thoughts are part of that, okay? So I think if you're having regular intrusive thoughts to the point where it's causing a lot of upset, it's interrupting your day, it's feeling very disturbing and very hard to manage, then definitely reach out to a therapist, to your doctor, and get some support, because there's a lot that you can do to shift away from these thoughts, okay? So you can heal from them, you can let them go, you can get a break from them, but you need some help. You shouldn't expect yourself to do it all on your own, okay? So we've talked about what they are. What I didn't actually mention is sometimes moms have intrusive thoughts about themselves as well. So it's not always about the baby, but sometimes you might have thoughts about harm coming to you. What if I get in an accident? What if I die? What if something happens to me? So the focus can be on all sorts of different people, but the common theme is that they just kind of burst into your consciousness. They're not thoughts that you want to have. Okay, we've talked about what they mean, and just to summarize what they mean is usually they mean nothing, right? As long as they are not in alignment with what you actually want, then they don't actually mean anything other than that maybe you need some support, maybe you're dealing with some anxiety, and just know that you can overcome these. Okay, so how do you deal with them? Well, the first piece is educating yourself more about intrusive thoughts. So I've linked to an article that I've actually written below. I'd love you to take a look. There's a little bit more detail, more information. And the more that you can understand what's happening, the less scared and alone you'll feel when you have these thoughts, okay? And ultimately what I want you to do is be able to recognize them in the moment, like, oh, there's that thought again. It's just an intrusive thought. It doesn't mean anything about me, okay? So the problem that we often have is that we put meaning into these thoughts. We put weight into them, and we can actually make them worse when we do that, right? If we have the thought and then we think, oh gosh, what's my problem? What does this mean? Why am I having this thought? I'm so scared, and we put energy into it, it actually makes that thought feel even harder to deal with. On the other hand, if we notice that thought and then we can just say, oh, there's that thought again. Take a breath, remind yourself that it's normal. Remind yourself that this doesn't mean anything bad about you. It's just a thought. You can start to take some of the power away from it. When we put energy into it, we give the thought more power over us. When we try to minimize it a bit, like, oh, yeah, that's just that thought, it doesn't mean anything, then we start to take a bit of the power away. Okay, so I know that sounds easy. It does take practice to do that. The first piece is mindful awareness of your thoughts in the moment, and then trying to catch yourself having them, okay? Let me know if you have any questions about these in the comments. I'm really happy to make follow-up videos and explain this a little bit more. So you're gonna witness your thoughts. You're not gonna add more meaning to them. You're gonna remind yourself that this is normal, that I'm okay, that I'm a good mom. I will be a good mom if you're pregnant, right? And then what I want you to do is focus your mind, focus your attention in the present moment. So that we can't be in two places at the same time with our consciousness, okay? So if you're thinking about that thought, you're not thinking about anything else. But if you draw your attention to whatever you're doing in that moment, it'll help you stop paying attention to that thought. So for example, if you're with your baby and you have an intrusive thought, what I want you to do is witness it, try to put it in its place, like that's just a thought, and then bring your attention to what you're doing with your baby. So really focusing on what sounds you're hearing, what are you looking at, what are you reading. Try to be as present as you can with what you're actually doing. And you might have that thought again, and it's okay. Just draw your attention back to the present moment with what you're doing. Sometimes you might need to change your scenery a little bit, get outside. But the point is to purposely put your attention on something that you want to focus on, okay? Maybe pour yourself a cup of coffee and focus on how good that coffee is. So it's giving your brain something to really pay attention to, okay? The last piece that I'll add here, and this is just an idea, a suggestion for you, is to be really mindful of the content that you're allowing into your mind, right? So sometimes the news can create images that are upsetting for you, that are hard to shake. Sometimes reading about other people's intrusive thoughts can be upsetting, and it can almost plant more seeds of thoughts that you might have. Sometimes scary movies that we watch can give your mind content really to latch onto. So I always recommend being really careful and protective of yourself, especially during pregnancy and postpartum, when you might be feeling a little bit vulnerable. And it's okay to say, no, I don't want to watch the news, or no, I don't want to look at that horror movie. That's just self-care, right? So just notice what kinds of things make your thoughts feel harder, and give yourself permission to avoid those things for this time. You don't need to welcome all of those images into your life. No, you can be super clear about what things you want to see and what things you don't want to see. Okay, so I hope you can take a couple tools, a couple strategies from this video. Please let me know if you need any more support. I'm happy to create some more tutorials for you. I'm also going to link a postpartum mental wellness workbook that I've created. It's totally free. I'm going to link that here. You can download it and work through it in your own time. But I talk about all different dimensions of postpartum wellness, like self-care, social connection, all sorts of things that are going to help you feel more grounded and supported during this time, which will absolutely help you feel less anxious and where these types of thoughts aren't having such a hold on you, okay? And again, I'm going to link to an article on intrusive thoughts if you want to read a little bit more about that. So that's linked in the description of this video. Thanks again for being here. If you enjoyed this video, I would love for you to subscribe and get notifications when I publish new ones. And again, let me know what kinds of information you're needing some support with, and I'm really happy to help. Take care.